Hi everybody, welcome back to part 2 of how to build a portable carnivorous bog. We have moved outside to do the next step, and before we get started I just wanted to show you a few things that may be able to go in the bog or are going to go in the bog. So these are just a few Sarracenias I have kicking around. This is a parrot pitcher plant. There's our purpurea. There are numerous types of temperate sundews in here. These are seedlings that I have. So there's rotundifolia, intermedia, and I believe this one, I forget the Latin name, but it's called the English sundew. Anyways, these ones are all able to survive the cold. And of course the Venus flytraps over there. This is a cobra lily. I may or may not try that in the carnivorous bog. They are quite hard to grow. They take very special care, and I can't guarantee I could provide that in the bog. So I'm up in the air about that. I have a good thing going the way it is, and I'm not sure I really want to change that up. But anyways, now moving on to the next part of the carnivorous bog build. Okay, so a few ingredients we're going to be starting with. I have a bag of perlite here. That's going to go into the mix. I have some spagna moss here. Now I've already shown you how to rehydrate the spagna moss, so I'm going to throw that in the bowl of water there so that while we are talking it's going to start hydrating up. And I have a whole bunch of pre-moistened peat moss here. So I've made 10 gallons of it. I just threw a bunch in some 5-gallon buckets and threw the hose in it earlier today. Peat moss is very hard to work with when it's dry, and it's very hard to rehydrate when it's dry, so it takes a lot of time. So by throwing the hose in the 5-gallon bucket full of peat moss, it just gave me a good head start on getting that hydrated. You don't want to plant any plants in a bog when the peat moss is bone dry, because it'll actually suck the moisture out of the roots. And it's, as they say, it takes hours and hours to rehydrate. So in the meantime, your plants get quite stressed. Start by adding a bunch of peat moss here. And I'm going to empty in a lot of this bag. I want more perlite down deeper than I do on the surface. Perlite's going to keep the deeper areas that could become anaerobic or low oxygen zones. It's going to keep that so it has a bit more oxygen in it. So we'll give that a good mix up there. Definitely a good thing I made 2 full 5-gallon buckets of peat moss, because it looks like we're definitely going to need it. Give that a mix up there. And I'm going to go get the other 5-gallon pail of peat moss. I'll be right back. Okay, so I just added the second 5-liter of peat moss to the bog. It's a good thing I have a backup reserve of peat moss too, because it looks like it's going to need it. So we're going to add some more perlite to the top of this. There we go. And we're going to give that a good mix in. And as you can see, the stuff I mixed up a few hours ago still isn't actually completely waterlogged yet. It is still soaking up the moisture as it goes, so it's a good thing I gave it a couple hours head start, because it is still very, very dry. And I'm going to add, this is my reserve of peat moss that I use for all my carnivorous plants, sort of potting from day to day, because I know that it takes a lot to moisten the peat moss, that I always keep about 5 gallons pre-moistened already. Now it's going to take a lot more time to get it moist, so we're probably going to have to come back, I'm afraid. Bring the camera back in here. I think what I am going to do now is in this sort of area here, before we dig in any plants, I am going to install my little pond, like so. So hopefully when it's all packed in there, that's going to sit in there nice and tight, and it's not going to want to float up like it is now. I think it's just because the peat moss has so much water in it itself right now that it wants to float. Another thing we'll want to do for the top layer is we're going to want to add some spagna moss, so that's spagna moss there. And it's just going to be mixed in the top layer. Just like so. And we want to spread that out evenly, and then I'm going to need one more top dressing of peat moss for the top of it here. So that'll sort of get buried under that a little bit. And this is all going to pack down too. There's the beginnings of a bog. Now I'm going to go around and find some, I think I'm going to tier it with some rocks to put a few different levels in there. So I'm going to go collect some rocks. One important thing to realize when you're collecting rocks is to make sure that they are inert. We don't want any rocks that are made out of calcium or lime or anything that's going to leach into the water. We want to make sure that these rocks have 0 leaching abilities. So I'm going to go find myself some rocks now. Alright, so we're going to leave it at that for today. The peat moss is just too dry still to work with. It needs to soak up some water. So we'll plant the bog up in part 3 of how to build a carnivorous bog. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and we will see you for part 3.